tasks, like sequential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really good for like sequential tasks like language and code generation.
Yeah.
Um, so I actually use it to help me write stuff like cover
Mm-hmm.
letters and
Mm-hmm.
reports, like to just like fix up grammar, like grammar checking and stuff. But like for like more, I guess, math heavy tasks that are like more abstract and symbolic, like I found that it's not really that good because some assignments that I've had like signal processing and more math heavy assignments, like I've tried to ask it to do some of the questions, like
Yeah.
see how it would perform, but it really like it like it misunderstood what I was asking a lot of the times. And then
Mm-hmm.
when I actually got it to generate something, it wasn't what I needed. Like it wasn't close to what I needed. So
Right.
so
Yeah, because
like it's
yeah, I
oh yeah.
realize
So
it,
uh
mm-hmm.
oh yeah, continue.
No, I was just saying, like, based on the reactions, first of all, it's probably one of the first tools I've seen come out to the AI field in a long time that's gotten this type of reaction.
Oh yeah,
The
definitely.
mainstream media. Like I mean everybody's talking
Yeah.
about to the point where
It's actually useful.
oh Dimitri also.
Yeah, I'm just helping, man.
Yeah, even to
Yeah.
the point where like people who never even knew anything about AI, doing podcasts on it now, everybody doing YouTube vids on it.
No,
And like
literally every channel that I watch on
every
YouTube,
channel, exactly, every
somebody
channel, everybody
mentioned
doing
that.
an interview about it. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
even like some like they have a grad school management class or something or accounting, and one of
mhm.
their projects was to like a part of one of their projects was to like see what ChatGPT says about XYZ topic or something like
The
that.
graduate level topic, and they're
Yeah.
just gonna ask ChatGPT.
Now that was just like one question in it, but like that was my friend showed me the assignment that he got, and I just had to laugh because that was like I don't know, like I guess for regular people, seeing Chat GPT is like going from like 0 to 100 just like that.
Right.
Because
Yeah, I guess there were people especially weren't following the whole
Yeah.
AI. I had some people are extremely skeptical and say, "What? We can't even get self-driving cars. It's going here."
Yeah, I
Yes,
guess it's a bit different for us, as though we were kind of following the whole progress of language
like
models.
an incremental step to we, but to them
Yeah,
it's
exactly. For is a big, 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 big jump. I
yeah,
guess one question is, are we? 'Cause I mean, I see a lot of people, kind of attributing, yeah, because of how good it's been at sort of, conversational responses and human-like responses in a way. Are we being guilty of kind of humanizing it a bit too much, like attributing too many human qualities? I think the correct term for it is anthropomizing. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So, all right, is society right now or the mainstream media kind of guilty of that, in your opinion,
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's
or is
kind
it
of
warranted? I should say.
oh, hmm. Well, first of all, I think that it's kind of like that's going to happen with any any technology because like I mean even stuff like cars, like people kind of anthropomorphize their vehicles like to the point where they made the cars movies, like where you could see like the headlights were the eyes and
Oh
then
yeah,
the stuff like that, the bumper is the mouth and yada yada yada.
yeah,
Like I mean I feel like anything that that can resemble a human in any way
yeah,
like will be anthropomorphized.
I think we're coming close to a fact now, which is that making it more appealing or relatable to humans is like the most effective way to get people to pay attention. Like I remember with text to image. The whole thing that made that Ali actually blow up was the fact that the output was like specifically made to be pleasing to human eyes. So like they had a whole training procedure where they made it specifically to be made the output specifically to be pushed in a direction that was more pleasing to the human eye, basically. So they actually got that into it, and just because of that, that's the real reason why they did it, because they could have probably if they hadn't made the outputs like that, people just wouldn't be paying attention because simply because the pictures were very pretty.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the same
But
because the output is
Mhm.
you actually feel like you're talking to a person, unlike the normal chatbot talk, which is just you actually feel like you're talking to a robot. No, you actually feel like you're talking to a person. So
Right.
that's really what seems to be doing it. But people can kind of find it more relatable.
Yeah. And
So
I found it kind of interesting that like OpenAI actually like started to kind of like put some limits on like what ChatGPT will answer you
Mhm.
to make it seem like to make people realize that oh it's not a human that you're talking to.
Mm.
I don't think
Yeah,
that's the reason.
I think, well, in my opinion, I think a lot of people are falling a bit prey to, well, the idea that, this conversational tool is, human-like in the sense of how it perceives information and, how it understands concepts and, the information it's processing. I do think it is very good at simulating human-like conversational output. I guess that brings to the next question as to whether we think ChatGPT is actually intelligent. Is it understanding what it's doing, or is it really just very good at stringing along some
And I can say
sequences
that
of
it's certainly
tokens?
not understanding what it's doing. But I'm not sure if that means that it's not intelligent.
All right.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure intelligence is even the word that we're really trying to describe it with, because clearly it's intelligent because if I use some definitions of intelligence, it passes those definitions.
Mm-hmm.
But also maybe we should debate in whether or not it's actually a general intelligence or whether or not it's a human level intelligence.
Mm.
So it's really which type of intelligence you're talking about. Because the whole point, remember the whole field is called artificial intelligence. So to some extent, it's always going to be intelligent. So which level of intelligence are you talking about? And I heard a comment watching a video this week. Like someone said, general intelligence is just like whatever set of tasks the current machines can perform. So
Mm-hmm.
we just like push general intelligence to above whatever current machines can do, basically.
Mm-hmm. But do you think there are things that currently humans can do that ChatGPT is currently fails at?
Certainly, it has a limited memory one, and it's completely unaware of all of the information that it's aware of. It's
Mm-hmm.
unaware of its own capabilities. So it really is it's just a huge knowledge store,
Yeah.
and it depends a lot based on more on what the previous conversation was about to
Mm-hmm.
answer the question than actually looking into its own memory
Mm-hmm.
to find the answer to the question. So it's really dependent on what the previous conversation was, because it can essentially convince it that it doesn't know something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that flaw with with ChatGPT a lot, which is interesting because I looked into the training procedure. I think they based it on Instruct GPT, which basically they use reinforcement learning and human feedback to kind of tailor the responses. And they made up a very important point. The problem with this procedure is there's no real source of truth.
Ground truth.
Exactly, there's no ground truth. So it's not 100% clear that the output that it will output is necessarily factual. I mean, it sounds plausible. It will sound plausible, like humanly plausible, but it might not always give you a factual or correct response. So I mean, I've seen several cases where like you ask it a question, you tell it, and it tells you an answer, and then you tell it, no, that's not the answer. And then
Yeah.
it says, you're right, that's not the answer.
Yeah.
Basically, it changes his mind anytime you disagree with it. And which, in a way, I guess it's just being an agreeable human. But it kind of fails consistency test in a way, because I mean, if you actually understand your output in terms of like, I understand that 2 + 2 is 4. Somebody comes and tells me that 2 + 2 is 5. That shouldn't matter. I should still be saying that 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's a bit interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that if they were to give, like, if they were to like be able to train it to interact with some form of database to kind of validate its responses before it
Mhm.
And I was thinking about something similar to that. But you'd have a model essentially that would work with it, that would verify whether or not what it's saying is true. It would be another language model that would be specifically trained for evaluating whether or not something is true. And it would have access to essentially at any given time all the data essentially. So it could actually just search through and find if hmm. And I've been hearing about this other type of thing where you can do with large language models, which is like semantic search. Apparently, I can just get the proper answers out of that at every single time, but it's way different from just fine tuning large language models. I have to look into it more, but yeah, I think they could do that, but it would be involved using another model to evaluate what is true and what isn't true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't think that's very far away.
Yeah, because in computer vision they have like uh a student teacher type learning thing. I forgot what the technique is called, but like they have a technique where they have a teacher model like that's trained directly off the data, and then a
Mhm.
student model that's trained from the teacher. So the student model is usually knowledge distillation. Yeah.
Legislation,
And the student is, although it's smaller, so like it doesn't have the capacity to learn all the data that the teacher does. Like
Yeah.
if the student is trained on the outputs of the teacher, it oftentimes performs better than the teacher on the same task.
Well enough. I would say it probably from 95% of the teacher.
Yeah. So I was wondering if like something similar could be done there where you have like a big model that's trained on like the data directly,
Mhm.
and then you have like a student which is that's trained based on the outputs of the teacher, and then that student is what's given like that student's what's used in the API, like to give responses to people. Don't know how well that would work though, but it's an interesting thought.
Like language distillation has been around for a while. I'm not sure it even will transfer over to large language models because I've been finding that the real thing that's working, making the language models work is just size. To me, they might
Mm,
find that they can't do that with large language models simple because it's really
Mhm.
size that to actually.
yeah, maybe.
Okay.
Well, I can't say that.
So, well, I guess that brings me to the next. Yeah, there's been rumors about GPT-4 coming out soon.
Yeah.
So do
Yeah.
you guys
What I
think,
hear, sorry.
how long do you guys think the scaling thing is gonna really go on for? How long will it work?
I
Or
think we're I
will it
think
work for much longer?
from what I've heard, right? It's time
Mm-hmm.
between GPT-2 and GPT-3. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like about a year or less than a year. But the time between GPT-3 and GPT-4 is probably approaching 2 years. So like the fact that it's taking so much longer to make GPT-4 suggests to me that we're already hitting dimension in terms with large language models, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is good because I think large language models are really bringing AI too far into the direction of large companies because
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Oh, I get you, I get you. Meaning because they have all the big resources. I hear it costs like millions, probably 12, 13 million just to train GPT.
them is extremely expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely not
And
the technology of the layman.
it doesn't include
Um,
anybody who doesn't have billions of dollars or millions of
exactly.
dollars.
Right, right, right. So I mean, I know Microsoft bought some, I guess, more stake in OpenAI. I guess it seems like they're about to privatize their research. Well, in my opinion, that's probably what's gonna happen. Do you guys think they're probably doing this a bit too soon? Maybe they're kind
Certainly.
of overconfident in terms of what it will be able to,
I
do
think I still think
practically.
it's a good investment either way.
Mhm.
I still think it's a good investment either way. Because
Mhm.
even as it is now, like a few more improvements on ChatGPT could replace the average call center worker.
Yeah, probably.
And Jamaica, maybe make nobody's strength put up so much economy in a call center. But yeah, just as it is now, ChatGPT doesn't need much more improvement to replace a call center worker. And that's a huge industry right there. So it's already a good investment. I don't think Microsoft is gonna lose any money after this. And
Mm.
also Google switching their gears too. Google is basically firing people and only keeping the AI people.
So, all right, I guess
That's a large number of data scientists get fired.
I
So like
guess
data science is actually falling out of favor among the big companies.
I guess this leads to the job question. I mean, a lot of people have been seeing the results of ChatGPT and I guess scared of AI taking their jobs. Do you think ChatGPT is really at the point right now where it's just can wholesale take everybody jobs or
Definitely not.
okay?
But
Definitely
I
not.
do feel like in the future, like
Mhm.
I don't think AI will replace everyone, but I feel like people are going to use AI to like augment their capabilities
Right,
more so
yeah.
than replace them completely.
Yeah, I agree. I think at least in the near term, that's probably what you see more of, like augmenting our intelligence, boosting our productivity essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because even like when like if I ever have a report to write, like I'll just like type in the prompt. I'll just put the prompt into ChatGPT and see what it says, and then use that as a starting point.
Well, maybe I should use it to write my thesis.
Yeah, it's actually really good, like for the abstract and stuff like that.
Why am
Like
I
it,
wasting my time with writer's block? I never thought of that. Maybe I should actually consider that. Anyways, do you think people are overestimating the capabilities of ChatGPT?
Certainly
yeah,
right now is a lot of hype behind it. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't but if you think that people are overhyping ChatGPT, I think you're evaluating it wrong. Because
Mm-hmm.
people aren't overestimating ChatGPT. They're correctly assessing the potential. I think that's what's happening. Like
Mm-hmm.
people are waking up to the potential right now. People are realizing this is just version one that just came out the other day. Like a lot of people are learning about it for the first time. So they
Mm-hmm.
are seeing that this actually exists and this is just the first one. Compare the first iPhone to the iPhone that we have now. So
Mm-hmm.
imagine where this would be in 10 years. So I think that's what's happening. I think people are really waking up to the potential and the investment potential because I said 75% of the videos you can find on ChatGPT right now on YouTube is about
But I guess in terms of
what
like
we can
what
do.
it can do right now, do you think there are people on the internet that are kind of misleading people in terms of like it's?
Oh,
'Cause I mean, I
definitely.
saw this video where somebody was saying them use Chat GPT to make what was it 2,000 some extraordinary how much percent return on some stock trading.
$800 a day and stuff like that.
I'm
Not
like,
right.
what?
Ridiculous.
uh,
Ridiculous.
So wait, this thing here is making you money and you're telling
You just put
everybody
it out on the internet
about
for
it,
everybody else to learn.
like okay.
So I
And
said
like
no, it's
it's
almost
funny
certainly
because when I start watching the videos, it's such a letdown because you realize I'm just doing something that like everybody normally did anyway. Like you're
yeah.
like,
yeah,
oh my
And
God.
like some of the most advanced videos on ChatGPT I'm finding is videos about how to use the API. That is the least let down one, and that is a gigantic let down for me because
Yeah,
what I want, I don't you don't see actual AI people. Any of the people that were
yeah,
talking about AI before ChatGPT, you don't see any of those people making any videos about
yeah.
doing anything big with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's only the new people that started making videos about AI a few weeks
So
ago.
I guess that comes to the question. Do you think there's the danger of I guess a lot of what's the right word for it? A lot of snake oil salesmen kind of coming into the AI field now because of
Certainly,
the mm-hmm.
certainly. Like those guys are the most dangerous thing right now.
Yeah, because you're gonna have a lot of people come with them companies say, "Oh yeah, man, we use ChatGPT, so you know,
Yeah, and guess what?
just
If
invest in
those
us."
guys actually get investment,
Yeah,
those guys actually get investment, right? By the companies that don't really understand it and they're gonna jump into
Exactly.
this thing.
So
You're
yeah,
gonna have
man.
a lot of failure and a lot
Exactly.
of people are gonna pull away from AI. And a lot of
Exactly.
investment that shouldn't have gone to those guys that
Right.
just learn about ChatGPT the other day and are selling it to big companies.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of money is gonna get lost and a lot of faith is gonna get lost in AI just because of those type of people.
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Yeah. Can this be bad for AI research?
Yeah, yeah. It can delegitimize AI research.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, I think it would only delegitimize it to the public
Mm-hmm.
because
Oh,
like
okay.
No,
big companies like are
Mhm.
already using it and are getting value from it already.
Mm.
And they're the ones that have like all the research scientists from like the Stanfords and the MIT, so they know that they're going to get results with it.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of like, I guess in terms of the whole privatization thing, because a lot of these companies, it seems like this is what they're going, large language models, scale, scale, scale. I think they've kind
Yeah,
of more or less zoned in on their product. Is
yeah.
there danger of like AI research kind of getting, um, I guess, laser focused or too laser focused on one particular thing and sort of, forgetting, what other techniques that may be out there or exploring
I'm
other.
not sure that is something that we should be concerned about because
Mm,
a lot of people say that about transformers that AI research is getting too focused on transformers, but
mm,
right now transformers are essentially all that's transforming AI research, and
Mm,
it's what is really bringing it forward right now. So I think even if
John.
transformers eventually fail or something like that, the more the extra resources getting poured into the field are leading to more research into even wider range of stuff that essentially wouldn't be getting research had it not been for the amount of attention that Transformers is bringing.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, I think okay.
oh yeah, because like I mean, I think that a lot of what is going to drive AI in the future is going to be uh, um newer like training techniques and stuff like that.
Mm,
Because like for example, like in like 2019, 2020-ish GANs and all of that were all the hype back then. But then now people like just started working on diffusion models around then, and now they basically took over the generative AI.
mm,
Like, and not just in image based stuff, but like also in like audio. But like pretty recently, Google released a model that can like generate like 30 seconds of music from just a text input, and it sounds really good.
Yeah, I
but
guess we're getting
do you
there.
guys think we're maybe losing the original goal of AI research? I mean, the
No,
original goal of AI research is more or less sort of,
general intelligence.
or yeah, or simulating human, or or trying to understand human intelligence to the point where we can artificially create it. Are we kind
Yeah,
of falling into a comfort zone where we just have these, sort of black box, large models, put a bunch of data in there, it spits out some stuff, and we kind of, stop trying to solve the really hard problems like, common sense reasoning and, long-term planning, or,
yeah.
creating something that can put all of this together into one system that can be truly generally intelligent.
I think in order to actually reach the next stage
Mm-hmm.
of what the AI can do, we have a financial incentive at this point. to actually find answers to all of those questions.
Do we
Because
though?
the things that it can't do right now, the solution to them is to find how to teach these models actual reasoning, right? Well, at the very least, we'll be able to simulate it with the neural networks, right? And even if we don't actually get a full understanding because neural networks are about a black box, we'll at least get to the point where we have basically simulated it. But we end up not being able to explain, but like we have a high incentive to get there at least, be able to simulate it.
Yeah. Uh, I'm kind of like skeptical of deep learning. It's like as a technique ever getting to that point where it can be generally intelligent. I do think that like it's going to have to be combined with like some like symbolic kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because like with math, for example, like I saw somebody use like combine ChatGPT and Wolfram Alpha, and then like the results they were getting from that with like math-based queries and tasks were way better than what ChatGPT was doing by itself. So that kind of suggests to me that like the neural networks, well, as at least as they're trained now, aren't able to like reason symbolically. And so they'd have a hard time struggling with more abstract tasks.
Right.
Well, they would struggle with more abstract tasks. So I do think that like if there is a general intelligence, if we keep going the way that we are, then it's going to be some combination of learning and some symbolic techniques.
Let me get a different view, which is that I'm almost certain that deep learning can manage all of the things that you would manage to do with symbolic AI, simply because humans can do that, right? Average human, remember the brain, like average human come from a single cell.
Yeah.
At birth, right? So it's like a single set of genes produce the cells or eventually just get big and form a certain structure and form a brain. What that means to say is just essentially all of the information inside their brain, all of its operation, all of that stuff, all the stuff are unique to you, are unique to anybody else, are unique to humans in general. All of that can store in like one small amount of code in a DNA, right? In a DNA. So that tell me that can also form a similar system with code, but completely artificially. Since it can do it biologically, you don't really need any symbolic AI with it's any type of symbolic reasoning with biology, right? I don't imagine having a symbolic reasoning in there. It's all just code. It's just all an automatic system essentially. So I don't really doubt that I can put it all of that into a just fully automatic system, and it just actually ends up pushing out on the other side something I seem exactly like how humans manage to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do think, you know, whilst deep learning has produced a lot of impressive results, I mean, if we're going to get to that point of closing the gap between humans and machines, I do think maybe some hybrid approach may be necessary. Who knows, maybe not. But I do think there is something we're missing. I don't think the scaling of large language models is just gonna suddenly in 2030, you know, this thing is gonna be self-aware, conscious, and like, you know, you basically enslave us. I think there's definitely some work to be done, or some more work to be done in terms of kind of more understanding how everything works. But yeah, I mean, I do think, I mean, based on the progress in AI, it may come much sooner than we think, because of the exponential, or it may even come a lot later than we think. So I think no one really or truly knows. Anybody that pretends to like, oh, it's gonna come exactly in 2030, singularity, blah blah blah, like, nah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said that about several technologies, like we should have flying cars by now. They predicted that, but yeah, that's not happening. for now. So
I wouldn't say
yeah.
we're at the singularity, but I think we're really like playing with the singularity at this point. We're at the point where we can speculate as to whether or not we get into the
I
singularity,
don't know. I
which
just
is
don't.
way different from what things were
If
just 3 years ago.
if I saw GPT, I don't know, just the mistakes, because I know how these LLMs work, and just some of the mistakes it's make it's I don't know. It's not, to me, it's not version one of something that exponentially gets there. Like I don't see how that happens
Okay,
with
for example,
using
right?
the
One of my
current
things is
stuff.
that
It
think
does.
about the way that they train ChatGPT, right? It's reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning is really the weakest unrevolutionized version of training for these types of machines, right? Actually, deep learning models and reinforcement learning is like the least successful way to actually solve any type of problem. Like you're probably not gonna solve any problem you try to solve by solving reinforcement learning. You have a very low chance of success with reinforcement learning. Essentially, you haven't had a revolution in reinforcement learning, like how you've had a revolution in vision, and how we would have a vision, computer vision, and also natural language processing.
Mm.
So reinforcement learning is really the technique that is holding back uh, these models from going any further. I think that's what we need to work on, a replacement or some kind of improvement on reinforcement learning. Because to me, what they're doing in reinforcement learning, I think that is the issue, because all they're doing is teaching the model to follow a set of steps and follow a set of steps. Whereas I don't really think that learning to follow a set of steps is what really is the core intelligence.
Mm.
So I think we need to make some improvements to reinforcement learning itself before we get anywhere near it. But I feel like
Yeah,
the technology that we do have
Yeah, because
so far, which is the neural networks themselves are capable of simulating intelligence to a point where if we just improve reinforcement learning, then we could probably get there.
yeah. I will say that personally, though, I don't really care about general intelligence. Like, I
Mhm.
just think deep learning is a really, really good tool, and that
Mhm.
you can get really good results on like a lot of tasks, and that's what I really care about.
Mhm.
Uh, but like the general intelligence stuff is pretty interesting to me, but it's never been like a benchmark that I've used to judge AI progress.
Mhm. I don't know. That's I guess as a scientist, it's more about, or less about creating practical tools and more about discovering the truth. Yeah, I mean, I still want to see that happen, or more focus kind of being placed on trying to get there.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, the thing you said about reinforcement learning, yes, definitely it has some deficiencies, but I mean, as we can see, it seems to be that thing where people point or go to when your system needs to get that extra step or that go past a certain barrier. Because we saw that with the Go playing program, AlphaGo.
Yeah.
Originally, like the first part of it, there was some supervised learning, and then they
Yeah.
just fully went reinforcement learning, and boom. I think, as I say, we need to solve some big challenges in reinforcement learning, like the reward problem. How do we properly ascribe rewards? But I think, as a general, like, way of learning things in terms of learning from your mistakes and have some sort of feedback, I think that's generally how humans learn to get better at things. Obviously, we need to kind of improve that formulation mathematically, but um, yeah, I think if we do, it could be generally good for the AI field.
Mm.
Time is about to run out, so think if anything, we maybe just end it here and then we continue it next week for part 2.
All right, sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. See you guys.
That was a good chat, sharp, but still good.
Yep,
Yeah.
man.
All right. Cool.
Later.
All right.